Alright guys, so today we are going to be drawing a tiger, and for this I'm going to be using Sharpie and I'm going to be using crayon. Now for you to color with, you could do colored pencil, really anything that blends, oil, pastel. You could try marker, though it may be a little harder to blend some of our colors together when we get to the coloring part. So to start with, I am going to be starting in with Sharpie. I always recommend you guys start in with pencil first, just because I've already practiced this a whole bunch of times, so it may be easier for you to go in with pencil. So I'm going to start towards the bottom of my paper because I'm going to kind of start with the nose and the mouth and then work my way towards the top, so I don't want to run out of space. So I'm coming here, kind of starting with the bottom, right about the middle of my paper, side to side, towards the bottom, from top to bottom. And I'm going to come in with kind of a curved V shape, almost for the nose, and then I'm going to connect that together with a horizontal line. Then I'm going to go in, add 2 circles. I'm going to color those in for the nostrils. On the tiger's nose, I'm going to come down with a straight line, and then I'm going to do 2 curves out. Sometimes it's nice to kind of use your finger to figure out where you want the line to go before you draw it. It saves you some time. You don't have to do any erasing, or if you're doing it in permanent marker or something like mine, then you won't have to, try and figure out how to hide if it doesn't go in the way you wanted it to, or cover up that later. So I'm going to kind of go in. I'm going to take mine to about here. I'm going to draw a curve out and then stop. And I'm going to do the same thing, keeping it symmetrical onto the other side. So I want to come out to about here. I'm going to do a curve out and then stop. That's where I'm going to go there. Then I'm going to come back into the center. I'm going to draw kind of a little semicircle or a curve down and color that in for the mouth. And then we are going to be using texture to create kind of a furry look to this. So I'm going to come kind of down and around and create kind of just this jagged, zigzaggy type of line for the bottom of his chin where I would have the fur coming. Then I'm going to come back up, and I know I'm doing this kind of fast, guys, so always feel free to pause. Just slow this down. That's the nice part about this not being in class in real life. We can slow it down and you can pause it and take your time with it. So then I'm going to come back up to here, and I am going to kind of curve these lines up to about here on both sides of this. So keeping it pretty symmetrical still, though we will probably gain in some symmetrical. Sometimes it's nice to kind of go across and make a dot where you want that line to go to, because sometimes while you're drawing, it's easy to kind of get off track or get off course. So creating those guidelines and points for yourself can help. Now mine's not perfectly symmetrical. This side's a little more curved. That side's a little straighter. This is a natural thing. It's not always going to be perfect, just like real animals, any of that aren't, so it's okay. It's just going to give it a slightly more natural look, I would say, overall. Then I'm going to come back down to the nose, and we are going to create the bridge of the tiger's nose. So tigers have a pretty big nose, a pretty big muzzle on this, so I'm going to keep it wide. I'm going to go out to the corner of the nose, and I'm going to draw my line up and over, kind of creating the nose that bridges into where the eyebrow would be. So I'm going to come up and over. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come up and over on this. This one I'm going to bring just a little further over. If they weren't quite even, can always extend it out. Then I'm going to go in with the eyes. I'm going to draw a curved line here. Same thing on the other side. And right now it's going to kind of look like your tiger is laughing and has his eyes closed with that. Then coming in, semicircle, right kind of in the middle of that. And I'm going to leave just a little white reflection, but color in most of that, kind of what will be the pupil of his eye. So I'm going to leave a little white reflection, color in most of the pupil there. Then I'm going to kind of repeat. Create another semicircle underneath that. Create another semicircle underneath that. I should have a little bit of space left. If you don't, like this one, I don't have as much as I need, like I do on this side, so I can just kind of extend it out, make that line just a little bit longer for this next part. So I have plenty of space to go on there. I am going to kind of make it, have it that more cat-like eye, so it kind of goes into a point at the end, kind of having this A shape. I'm going to just kind of bring that down to the curve like a triangle, and I am going to repeat that on both sides. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to color that part of the eye in. Color in that part, and I'm even going to kind of bring it under this a little more and thicken that part up. And I'll repeat. Okay, so once I've got my eyes going back down, I'm going to kind of come back down here, and just like most cats, big cats, dogs, that, they are going to have a whisker. So I'm going to kind of go through, and if you actually look, if you have a cat or dog, most of the dots where the whiskers line up actually are kind of more in a line, not as random as they seem. So I'm going to kind of keep mine fairly well lined up, kind of keeping them even there. Then I am going to come in and we're going to do kind of the outside of the head. Now we have the majority of the inside. So right up here, kind of above where the nose stops, starts. Whoop, sorry. Bloop, bloop, flip-flopped. I'm going to do a curved line like this for kind of the top of his head. And then I'm going to do the ears coming out. So for my ears, I'm going to do kind of a curve up and over, almost like a really soft S line. So kind of up and out like that. And then I'm going to repeat the same shape on the other side. I'm going to kind of go up and out. And then I'm going to bring this curve back in. So just kind of a curve back towards what will become the side of the head. Then coming down around here, I'm going to connect where the ear is down to where the nose is on here. So I'm going to kind of come in. I'm going to start a little behind the ear actually, and I'm going to come kind of down and around like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Starting here, kind of come down and around kind of into the side of it, not quite meeting at the bottom there. Now what we really need to do is add kind of the furry texture to our tiger. So really give it that look of the fuzz. So we're going to kind of go along the top here, and I'm just going to kind of zigzag. It can kind of change directions, go different ways. Fur, hair, we know we look crazy all times, hair going every which way, and a tiger definitely is a wild animal, so that is going to happen. So then coming down here, I'm going to kind of straight line and then just zigzag kind of into the chin there, almost like a beard, because a tiger, similar to a lion, actually has a bit of a mane to it. It's just not usually as big as a lion's mane and kind of comes in a little bit more on the sides there. And then lastly, I'm going to go in on the ears, kind of create a line, and then just do almost like these little dash lines in there to kind of create a fur texture kind of on the ears or inside the ears there. Okay. Now, last thing I'm missing, super important for a tiger, his stripes. So I'm going to kind of start on the forehead. I'm going to bring it in, back up, and just kind of do these little V shapes or triangles along kind of the sides, coming in at different angles here of the face. I could make it a little bigger, a little shorter if I wanted, and then I will end up coloring in those pieces. Then I'm going to come in and do some on the side of the face, just doing the same thing, kind of these little V shapes or triangles coming along different parts. If you want to fit in more, if you want more stripes, that's completely up to you. So again, all tigers are going to be a little different. No stripes are going to be the same. So yours, in terms of the striping, does not have to look exactly like mine. So my tiger, I have finished with the drawing portion, and now I'm going to move into coloring in. So for that, I have a darker orange and a lighter orange that are going to be a majority of the face. I have the eye color. I'm going to do kind of a bluish green, and then a black crayon. So if you don't use a black marker to color in the stripes, a black crayon, a black colored pencil works super well. I am also going to go in with the nose, and I'm going to kind of color in slightly lighter on the nose there so I can still see the nostrils that are the super hard, solid colored and black. Good, and then I am going to go in on this. I am going to fast forward through a lot of the coloring, but at any time, pause it, feel free to rewind it, whatever you need to do if you need to see more of what I am doing. Okay, so I'm going to kind of stop here where I have this dark orange kind of going just barely into where the muzzle is, and then I'm actually going to have this fade from the dark orange to the light orange and then into the white. So I'm going to start by blending or coloring the light orange right over the top of the dark orange so they kind of flow together, and then I'm just going to lighten the pressure and lighten the pressure on this. This is why this part would be a little difficult if you were using a marker or something that you cannot lighten up the pressure on. This part's definitely going to get a little bit harder, but I like to just have it where I then am barely even touching the paper with my coloring so it kind of fades into that part of the muzzle there. So I'm going to repeat that on the other side. And then I'm actually going to blend this light orange up into a lot of the rest of the face here, just because it has kind of a different tone, which I think is nice. All right, lastly, what I'm going to do is the fur kind of on top here, I'm going to do in the light orange. And then this, I'm going to have start light orange and then fade into white, because most of the time that fur around the face is white. And that is our tiger. All right, I hope you guys had fun. I can't wait to do some more art with you later. Bye, guys.